SMF Street Traders, what we have here is that weekly S&P 500, but most importantly about it is that once again, all last week we kept sliding that bid down to half of this weekly bar right here. I'm just going to show you. And half of that weekly bar is so ironic that it comes right out to that failure reversal, meaning that the trend failed for the bull. And basically what happened thereafter was the following. The following being that double week dip to the 100 week with that rally and rally 2. We are going to have support levels when reversals come. You need to see, remember, it's just the beginning of the bar though, of the weekly price action bar. I will say to everyone that we're overbought on the S&P, and I said it last week. And when you get to a point of being overbought within a cycle move, whether that's an up cycle or a down cycle, a cycle and price movement, breakout movement is one way, and failure movement and breakdown movement is another way. What you need to know is half of this weekly bar right here, it's got to close below that. That's got to be as resistance. We would like to see by end of day 5 that we're going to pull back, but here's the thing. When we pull back down in here, it'll be time to get net long, unless they can do something like get a gap below it on a headline. That would be, so what I want all the MMTs to know is that shorting the top here is fine enough, but when we get down here, that's when the long side will have to be looked at and the pricing to go long, because short-term trends, when they do reverse, they do bounce, and they will act as a trampoline here as support, just as they do over here at resistances, like selling into there and selling and coming down, and selling into that 20-week moving average and coming down, and over here too as well. See, so that's resistance, and then they come down again for 2-3 weeks. The thing here, MMTs, it's very important to understand the power of a pullback. Whether it goes into a bear, we're not even here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the pullback and where that volatility will come in within the S&P structure for that mechanical bounce where the short interest starts to get in up at the top and we come down and we bounce the first pass unless there's a sell through. The only way that we don't bounce off of those MMTs is if there is an actual sell through. Stop market orders would have to be taken out going down through the moving averages. These are weekly moving averages. And they went from bear weekly moving averages to bull cycle moving averages, because that's what they are defined as at SMF. So we don't want people to be illusioned that are watching the video by mistake. MMTs understand it because they're an MMT and they're in the program. You, on the other hand, as an innocent bystander and whatnot, may not understand what we're saying. So therefore, if you want to learn more before you give us your opinion about anything, then come and join us for 5 days free. See for yourself. What we are going to talk about is that half bar sell through and come down and test. That 10-week has crossed above the 20, and that is considered a bull setup when they happen. A bear setup is the opposite of that. That's when the 10-week is below the 20-week. The red line is the 20-week. The blue line is the 10-week. They're color-coded there. 10-week, 20-week. There's your color coding. What you want to know is the color coding is here. That's a 50-week, the pink one. And that blue one, that 10-week, is crossed above and is going in that direction. So that's why we call that a bull weekly setup in moving averages versus when the trend goes down, they go into their mathematical bear. So they got some power behind it for that support level. Okay? Now, granted that it's the month of October and it can get nasty. What we'll be looking at is when we do get here, and we will, whether we get here or we get there first, it doesn't matter. If we get there first, we already know we're shorting out. We already know what our plan is. But if we get here first, then we know what that's going to be like and to be prepared for it. Because you got to be prepared in that 4-week move. And why do certain shallower trends that start, such as this, they always start like this, but if they end up breaking a certain mathematical percentage of it in your trading platform, it will become more and more of a bear. However, that bull is here. This is where that S&P is going to find support. If it doesn't bounce right away when it gets there, but has a big bar, like it would sell through it, and as it sells through it, drops below it, the stop market orders are taken out. Then it comes down, and if they can push it through there, they know that people have some sense about stoppability or stop market orders that get triggered and they get sold down through there. That's how they push the moves down. Just like when the shorts come out, the buy to cover makes moves go up too. And I'm just saying, whether if this was a 3-minute chart or if this was a daily or 15-minute, it wouldn't matter. The thing that does matter is what the beginning phase of that pullback will be and how strong will that bounce. We will find out by using the SMF weekly bars. The thing about it is the underlying support in the whole trend of that September weekly rally ultimately is back down here, right slightly above that 1080 handle on the S&P. However, what's going to end up happening here is if these weekly moving averages keep going in one way, meaning that the value of them are not descending in value as you're taught MMTs, meaning that you've got to have a good understanding that this reading here on the S&P on the 10-week of what does it mean mathematically? Well, you already know. You've got to go down in value on a weekly compounded level, meaning 5-day level equals 5 days. 5 days equals a week of this. We look for deterioration in all of these things mathematically because ultimately in your SMF platform, your calculations are done from your own platform, and it tells you exactly the weakness, the strength, and or let's say the medium part of trends per se. Okay? And they always start, MMTs, either you bounce vibrantly and hard, you'll know that big institutional players, when they come down to these key moving averages and they don't break, they start to buy to cover, and that's how you get bounces off the bottom now. And there's a mechanical process that goes on. This is not a retail process, nor am I teaching MMTs the retail thinking in the retail side of the market. That's not what we do here, because we make money doing what we do. And we enjoy understanding that the system can do the work for us. That's called the SMF, Direct Access Trend Analyzer. And it does analyze it in real time. So basically, MMTs know how accurate it is. That half bar there, we know what the half bar right over here is. We're going to also take a look at the shorter term one right here at 1120. That's where that major breakout happened, and you had that last week to that narrow range week. Now, rather that this is a doji, that means that this weekly bar will never close above this very trend line that I wrote or drew right here. Because if it does, then that means that that's a non-commitment. It is not a downside reversal. It has to act as resistance. It never goes and closes above the body of the previous week narrow range weekly price action bar. And that's how it will be, MMTs. And we'll talk more about it later. What I am talking about is a key breaking point below half of this here. That's somewhere, let's just call it, right now we're sitting on half of that bar, close enough, a break below 1135, and stock markets get triggered below the 1130 mark on the S&P would take it down to the 1120, which just so happens to be the high of that weekly reversal bar. We call that the weekly elevator bar here at SMF Street, because that's exactly what it was. And there's the pricing action of it in our system. So basically, these are the areas we're looking at, and vice versa. We know that there's no reversal on a weekly level if we close above that previous week. We're also in an earnings season, which I don't believe is going to be doing well. We already did a special. If you haven't seen that one, then I would take the time. The MMTs have seen it. But if you're just a bystander, go find that video on the site, dailystockcharts.com. There's a link on the home page. That's the S&P 500 weekly reversal.